Have you ever pondered the rationale behind Russia's decision to sell Alaska to the United States? In the mid-19th century, specifically in 1867, a transaction occurred that would reshape the North American continent. Russia, for a seemingly paltry sum of $7.2 million, signed over control of Alaska, a vast land teeming with resources, to the United States. Before this surprising turn of events, the Russian-American company held sway over Alaska, exploiting its rich resources and strategic location. However, this would soon change, and not without controversy. American critics of the purchase derisively dubbed it Seward's Folly, or Seward's Icebox, a foolish venture into a frozen wasteland. These critics failed to see the potential of Alaska, its wealth and resources, and its strategic geographical position. But the question still lingers: why did Russia, seemingly out of the blue, decide to sell off this vast resource-rich land? To comprehend Russia's decision, we need to delve into the geopolitical and economic circumstances of the time. The mid-19th century was a period of financial strain for Russia, largely due to the devastating effects of the Crimean War. This conflict, which spanned from 1853 to 1856, had drained the Russian treasury, leaving the country in need of a significant financial boost. Alaska, a remote territory on the other side of the world, was proving costly to manage and defend. But there was another cause for concern. Russia felt the threat of losing Alaska in a potential future conflict. The fear was not unfounded. In an era of expanding empires, territories often changed hands through war and conquest. If another country were to seize Alaska, Russia would lose the territory and receive nothing in return. Selling Alaska, therefore, seemed like a prudent move. It would ensure they got something rather than nothing. That's not the whole story, though. Russia wasn't just looking to fill its coffers. It also had a strategic interest at play. At the time, Britain was a major power in North America, particularly in the northern regions. Russia saw an opportunity to undermine British power by strengthening another player in the region, namely the United States. By selling Alaska to the United States, Russia hoped to create a stronger counterbalance to British influence. It was a game of chess on a global scale, with territories as the pieces. Alaska was not just land, it was a pawn in a much larger game. So we see that Russia's motivations for selling Alaska were twofold. On one hand, they needed to alleviate their financial difficulties. On the other, they sought to manipulate the balance of power in North America to their advantage. Clearly, Russia's motivations were not just about money, they were also strategic. The United States, on the other hand, had its own reasons for wanting Alaska. Secretary of State William Seward, a man of vision, had his eyes set on the Northern Territory. He saw the potential for American expansion, a country that would span from the Atlantic to the Pacific and beyond. He envisioned a nation that wasn't hemmed in by borders, but one that stretched its wings across the globe. And Alaska, with its untapped resources and strategic location, was a critical part of that vision. Seward recognized Alaska's value, a value that went far beyond its price tag. The territory was rich in natural resources, including gold, timber, and fish. But perhaps more importantly, it was strategically located. Nestled up against the Arctic Circle, Alaska offered a gateway to Asia, a continent with markets ripe for American goods. It was an opportunity for the U.S. to establish a foothold in the North Pacific, a move that could potentially strengthen its global position. But Seward's vision wasn't solely his own. It was shared by many Americans of the time. The mid-19th century was a period of Western expansion, a time when pioneers were pushing the boundaries of the country ever westward. The idea of manifest destiny, the belief that American expansion across the continent was both justified and inevitable, was a powerful force in the national psyche. Alaska was simply the next step in fulfilling that destiny. Critics, however, derided the purchase as Seward's folly, scoffing at the idea of buying a frozen wasteland. But those who shared Seward's vision saw the potential. They saw a land of opportunity, a land that could help shape the future of the United States. And so, despite the criticisms, the United States went ahead with the purchase. The government saw the value in Alaska both in terms of its resources and its strategic location. They saw the potential for growth, for expansion, and for fulfilling the country's manifest destiny. Alaska, it seemed, was destined to become part of the United States. With both nations having compelling reasons, the deal was finally sealed. The negotiations were a delicate dance of diplomacy, with both Russia and America balancing their interests on the tightrope of international relations. The final agreement was reached, and a sum of $7.2 million was agreed upon. It was a price that made many Americans gasp in disbelief, as they saw it as an exorbitant amount for a barren wasteland. However, the criticism was short-lived. As the American settlers ventured into the icy wilderness, they uncovered a wealth of untapped resources. Gold was found in the Yukon, oil in Prudhoe Bay, and countless other natural resources were discovered throughout the vast territory. The once scorned purchase was now seen as a stroke of genius. Secretary of State William Seward, the man behind the purchase, was vindicated. And so Alaska went from being a Russian colony to a treasure trove of resources for the United States. Now, over 150 years later, what is the legacy of this extraordinary transaction? The impact of the sale has been profound for the United States. Alaska, with its abundant natural resources, has significantly contributed to the nation's economic prosperity. Its oil reserves have fueled American industries, while its fisheries have provided sustenance and livelihoods for many. Beyond these tangible assets, Alaska's strategic location has also played a crucial role, serving as a gateway to the Arctic and a buffer against potential threats. On the other side of the coin, there's a sense of regret in Russia that's lingered over the years. Many look back at the sale as a missed opportunity, a loss of what could have been a strategic and resource-rich asset. While the sale of Alaska might have seemed puzzling at first, it's clear that both nations had their reasons, shaping not only the fate of Alaska but also the course of history.